One of the biggest topics that I get asked about a lot is Ishti Maryam, which wife Mary, Jeshua's wife, and they want to know, what was that relationship like? And I did a video on this a while ago, but I wanted to kind of paint a picture for you. Jeshua was not as tall as people make him out to be. He was actually shorter than John was, and Ishti Maryam was even shorter, and by a lot. She was actually a fairly short person, but she had long dark hair, which was often pulled back or underneath, but very often no head covering at all, which is interesting because you always see the biblical pictures of the head coverings, but it was not nearly as prevalent back then as it became. So she was very often without the head covering. There's one very vivid memory that I have, and it's really interesting because, I'll give you two real serious memories. When I did the video a while back, and Jeshua liked figs, which is a long time ago. I made that video a long time ago. That is attached to a very specific memory. I was walking literally a dirt path, and finding I don't even know what kind of tree it was, but it was a wispy tree. It was did not cast much shade, but we took advantage of the little bit of shade it was casting. And Jeshua sat at the trunk of the tree, leaned back, and Ishti was literally at his side, right, leaning against him rather than the tree. And the thing that I remember the most was the laughter. They were just laughing, and his head goes back and leans against the tree, and it was, he's just open, 100% pure laughter. And she would laugh, and then she would rest her ear, her side of her face against his chest, and they would giggle and they would laugh, and he would tug on her hair occasionally, just playing with her, and it was just it was such a cute relationship. It was so free, so open, so loving, and it had nothing to do with the hierarchical structure or the patriarchal structure of the time period that you always hear about. It was not that. It was just free to be themselves and free to laugh and free to joke, and he would feed her, she would feed him figs, or and they would talk, and it was a very beautiful relationship. I watch a lot of YouTube channels, and there's one that I love to watch, and the reason, and it's about building off grid, because I just think that's a cool topic. But what I'm finding really interesting is this one channel that I watch. I watch it more for their relationship than I do for the actual building, because they're so fun together. They laugh. They pick on each other. They joke with each other. When they pick on each other, they do, and the other person will catch that they're being picked on and will laugh out loud. And so it was just it's just a joyful relationship. And Jeshua and Maryam had the same thing. They were just a joy. There was no thought that the other thought bad of them or less of them. None of that happened. It was just a pure, open, loving experience without fear. It was unconditional. Unconditional. The second memory I have of Maryam that's interesting, and it's because I often get asked about the Last Supper. Now, first of all, I remember suppers. I don't necessarily remember a specific last one. I have very distinct memories of being actually in a room And, you always see in the film versions at the Last Supper, the Garden of Gethsemane. I have very distinct memories of being in a room and the room having pillars. And it was as if there was a center open area and pillars. And there's a table that was set up right next to the pillars, perpendicular to the pillars coming out into the room. And Maryam was actually helping bringing stuff to the table. And so I had this memory of looking over and seeing her and seeing even in those menial tasks, a joyful smile on her and just sort of a fun, light-hearted energy about her. She was just a fun individual, just a lovely person who didn't look at the tasks she was performing and get into her, oh, woe is me for having to do this task, which a lot of us do. She joyfully did everything. She said, oh, we have to do what now? We have to clean the dishes? Okay, let's go do that. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. And she had this dark, curly hair. And the closest eyes that I've seen that match her eyes, there's the famous picture of the Afghani girl that was on Newsweek 30 years ago. But it is a very famous picture. And her eyes are like a yellowy green. Very, very striking looking eyes. Maryam had eyes very similar to that. And I am still working on the painting. I just haven't had a chance to work on it lately because I have to paint when I'm inspired to paint, or it becomes tedious and it's not something I'm enjoying doing. So it doesn't come out well when I don't enjoy it. So I'm picking away at it. Eventually, I'll bring it out. The two of them together laughing. But that relationship, the only thing I can really say about the relationship is that there were no conditions. There were no judgments because of gender, because of anything. And very distinct memories of me having a nice relationship with her as well, and with him, of course. But she and I laughed together as well, right? I wasn't her wife. She wasn't my wife, but there was no jealousy in anybody around her because it was known that they were together and there was no limitations there with who she could friend or anything like that, which in that society that would have been very frowned on for a married man's wife to be speaking with another man. And we didn't have that experience walking with Jeshua because Maryam was just Maryam, Ishti Maryam. So that really is their relationship in its entirety. She loved him passionately. He loved her passionately. They spent as much time as they could together. She was devastated at the crucifixion. She had a hard time walking at the crucifixion. And after the crucifixion, she became the shell of who she was. She became sullen, sad, and was no longer the happy person that we all knew. And when John went on the road to Turkey, her family came from Magdala to take her back to their family home. And John never saw her again after that because he was on the road teaching. But they came to get her and take her mainly because she was so devastated that it was debilitating. So So that's my thought on that. So I hope that answers your question, and have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you, my friends, for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you've subscribed and you like it, you share it, but also comment below it. Let's get this community talking about these topics and spreading this information out far and wide so we can change the world for the better. Thank you.